we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on covert means, on infiltration instead of invasion, on intimidation instead of free choice, on guerrillas by night instead of armies by day. There is little value in ensuring the survival of our nation if our traditions do not survive with it.
All right, welcome to episode 108 of the Abuse Hour. It is I, your host, Coffee Long, coming to you unsupervised, unmedicated, and an unhinged dude driving a giant fucking car. So, dude, I got a story for you, man. What a fucking freaktacular pain in the fucking balls this has been. So, yeah, I haven't put out an episode for a little bit, and I mean, like, dude, yeah, I totally appreciate the suggestion of, like, hey, don't be a tool, man. Just put out a little something, a couple thoughts here and there. But I got a little preoccupied, and I'll tell you this, dude, and I mean, after I tell you this, you'll hear this and be like, oh, yeah, it fucking figures, like, par for the fucking course. So, check this shit out, man. So, I was, trying to get on the T train, right? So I did this whole fucking thing and hit up this this service that was like, yeah, man, we'll do the whole fucking thing. Like, we'll line up a place for you to go get labs. We'll have that shit automatically sent back to us. You know, we'll give you a call. We'll verify everything. We'll launch this shit out to you. You inject yourself. You get fucking swole. Da-da-da-da. All right, cool, man. So I go get these fucking labs, and it's all this fucking shit. And so here's the thing was like, back when I had a good degree of medical training. So I got a rough idea what I'm looking at when I'm looking at these labs. And even if you don't totally know what all these things do, it says right there on the thing, like, here's what's the normal range of this value, right? White blood cells, red blood cells, any of this shit. Here's the normal range of this. So I get this back. All my shit is normal. Except I got this one value that's all fucked up, and it's called PSA, and this is prostate-specific antigen. So, this, like, if you're a young dude, like, I'm saying this, I'm saying this for the old dudes now and for the young dudes later. For the ladies, I don't know, you just get to sit through another rant. What can I do for you, right? All right, so prostate-specific antigen, the idea here is that, like most things in your body, like when it gets fucked up or it's stressed or inflamed or something, there's some kind of a chemical response. Something happens, right? That you can see, like, yeah, something's awry, you know, here. There's something going on, right? So with the majority of your body, this is what your white blood cells work for. Like, if you've got an infection or something, you're going to see a spike in these white blood cells, and that's because those are the things that go and help fight infection, right? Or if you've got an injury to, say, I think it's your spleen, then you're not going to be able to make these products, and that's going to show up as well. Like, all right, something's going on here, right? So all my shit's right down the middle. It's the same with your prostate, right? So here's the thing: is if you're a dude, or you're a woman who happens to have a prostate, right? This will naturally get bigger as you get older. There will be, like, little malfunctions, but this is like the first part to go on your car or something. This is like the belt that wears out, on your fucking alternator or something. This is just the way that it fucking is. Normally, though, if you're between, like, whatever, man, a year old and like 40, your value of this PSA, whatever fucking fluid or chemical or biomarker or whatever, is between 0 and 2. If you're like 40 to whatever, like 70, your value is usually between 2 and 4. All right, so this is like 2 and 4, like, nanograms per liter of blood or some kind of shit like this. So I get mine back, and mine is like 9.3, and I'm like, oh, fuck. I'm like, that's not right. So I'm looking this shit up, and it's like, yeah, bro, you got to get looked at right away. Like, this could be a fucking problem, because if you got, like, if it's 20, that's like, it's a coin toss, man. You probably got serious fucking cancer. Or if it's over 10, that's like, that's like 1 in 4. You got some kind of cancer. You got to get fucking straightened out. I'm like, fuck, that's not what I needed to see. But then I'm looking at the rest of these values, and I'm like, well, dude, if I had some kind of cancer, like, why aren't any of these other values all fucked up? Like, everything is like there. That's what you want to see. Like that's what a guy's results look like. You know, your lab results look like if you're really taking care of yourself, you're eating right, you're sleeping right, you're not boozing. These labs look good, except for this one value. And I'm like, what the fuck, dude? So, like, I don't go to fucking doctors, man. I just fucking don't, because I haven't had good experiences, man. And I'll get to more of that later and why I say that. But I tend not to go, you know, unless I got something really fucking wrong with me where I'm like, yeah, something's awry here. You know, I got a bone sticking out here where it shouldn't or something. I need somebody to look at this. I ain't fucking going, because these motherfuckers will find something wrong with you. And like, oh yeah, here's a way that I can get paid. You know, let's get you on this shit and that shit. So I just don't fucking do it. But this, I'm like, all right, well, dude, I should get this shit looked at. So I go in here, and like, this is, you know, like, it was weird because it took like a day to get an appointment. Like, these motherfuckers were wide open. And I'm thinking like every other appointment in America, you know, is like, yeah, I got a serious issue, man. I need to get looked at. All right, cool. How's 6 months from now? Fuck, you know. But I get an appointment for like the next fucking day. I'm like, all right, well, that's cool, I guess. So I go in here, and like that was really as much research as I did. I had looked at like the bare minimum, because I don't know shit about it, right? And I'm looking, and I'm like, ah, fuck, dude, you know, like I gotta get straightened out. Like yesterday, this isn't good at all. But so I go in here, and first I walk in there, and I'm looking around, and it's like me and like, dude, I'm at lunch at the fucking senior facility. Like, it's old motherfuckers in there, and I'm like, this doesn't feel right at all, man. Like, this is a place for very old people, man. This is not a place for me. And it would be a place for me if there was something drastically fucking wrong with me. But then I'm like, dude, I don't have any problems. All my shit works right. All my other labs are good. Just this one thing. I'm like, all right, well, I'll find out, dude. Maybe I got, you know, maybe it's one of them deals like in a movie where like either just in time, or like if you had a rampage plan, now's the time, because you got like 10 minutes. You know, like the doctor says, I got bad news. You got 10. 10 what? 9, 8. Like, oh shit. So I'm sitting there and I'm fucking waiting, and this broad comes in. So imagine that, right? Dr. Prostate is some chick. But so this broad comes in, and she's like, yeah, I looked over your whatever, because I got these labs done somewhere else, and I just brought them here. I'm like, yeah, I had these labs. I need to get looked at. She's like, yeah, I'm looking at these, and yeah, that is really high. I'm like, yeah, okay, well, so what the fuck? And she's like, explaining to me shit that, like, page 1 of the fucking internet shit, and that's something that I'll tell you straight away, man, especially after the COVID thing, something that really pisses me off about the medical thing is like, this shit ain't black magic, dude. This ain't like a visitation from the spirit world where you're like endowed with magic knowledge. Like, motherfucker, you sat in a class and learned this shit. The same way I can look at a fucking web page and, you know, where there's bullshit, I decipher through the bullshit and just give me the fucking facts. And now I know what you know, all right? So I don't need a fucking hand holding. I definitely don't need to be looked at fucking sideways. But I'm like, yeah, I understand like the basic concepts here, but just like, let's, you know, get to the fucking part. Like, what do you make of this? What do you think? Oh, I don't know. I mean, you know, we'll draw more labs and, you know, let's do a little exam. I'm like, what the fuck now? So now, like, yeah, here's where the shit gets ridiculous, right? So now I got fucking Dr. Ratchet over here is going to send a text message through my ass, and I'm not excited about this shit at all, man. So this broad's telling me this shit, and it's like, all right, so, and the whole time, though, this chick is talking like I'm not even in the fucking room, man. Like, she has some little dingbat come in to draw some more blood, and she's like legit, like talking like I'm not even in the fucking room. And like, yeah, this guy's this and this. Yeah, it's yeah, okay, yeah, whatever, man. And like, you know, this chick is brand new also, this chick coming in to draw my blood. And I'm like, I'm actually the one helping her calm the fuck down. I'm like, yeah, it's no big deal, man. I'm like, I've done this shit plenty. You could see saw in and out of my arm a while. If it takes a minute, just, it's not a big thing. Just get your shit straight. We get the fucking blood drawn thing, and she's like, all right, man, so I'm going to shove this hand up your ass and see what's what. I'm like, fuck, dude, this is not cool at all. So this chick comes over here, and she's like, yeah, roll over on one side like this. All right, and now, like, she don't give me, like, a whole brief. She's, like, talking as she's doing this. Like, you're going to feel, like, a little bit of a cold jelly and then a little pressure. Zoink! And I'm like, fuck! I'm like, that's not fucking cool at all, man. And it's like 2 seconds. Bip up. And she's like, yeah, okay. Yeah, maybe a little enlarged. I don't know. I felt bigger. I'm like, oh, man, it fucking hurts me. But I'm like, all right, not a big deal, dude. So I'm like straightening myself out, pulling myself together, trying to fucking, get my pride back, right? And so this broad comes back in and is like, yeah, I didn't notice anything, especially interesting, but, wait for these labs to come back. And, I'll tell you this, if it's the same score, I'm going to send you over for a biopsy. And I'm like, all right, I guess, okay. And at this point still, I can't tell, like, is this broad being just kind of glazing over or something because she doesn't want to see me, doesn't want to see somebody crying because they have cancer or some shit, or exactly what the fuck is going on. Like, who the fuck could say? So I'm like, all right, whatever. And she's like, yeah. And I'm like, and she's on her way out the fucking door already. And I'm like, hey, well, I had read a little bit. And I'm like, I understand that if there's, sometimes like pressure or strenuous exercise, or like I saw some shit that was like, if you're a fancy Dan that's getting it in the ass, or if you ride a bicycle a lot. And she's just kind of like shushing me like, yeah. And just kind of blowing me off. Like, yeah, some people go with that. Some doctors go with that. I don't know about that. Some do, some don't. But, yeah, we'll just wait and we'll see, when you come back. And then we'll refer and then do whatever we got to do. Okay? All right, good. Okay? You know the way out? I'm like, fuck, man. All right, I'll just go fuck myself, So I'm leaving and I'm like, it doesn't seem completely right, dude. It doesn't, something is askew. So now I get back on the inner tubes, right? And now I'm not looking at like, just give me the basics, like give me the facts. Now I start looking at like, PSA score is bullshit. Overdiagnosis of prostate issues, prostate disorders, whatever. So I look that direction and now I start seeing all this shit. Like not like some fucking kook, writing on Reddit of like, yeah, bro, like they raped me, they stole my money while they were doing this thing or some shit, some nurse picked my pocket while she was sending a text through my ass or something, right? Like nothing crazy like that. Like legit fucking articles of like, yeah, dude, it's an overdiagnosed thing. Here's the fucking deal. So for you, man, this is something that as a dude will come up. This is like not an if, it's more like a when. Like you will get into this fucking spot. So I'll like one, let me preface this shit like I ain't got no fucking cancer. I'm not fucking, coffee's not on a fucking shortened timeline, nothing like that. So let's get that out of the way first. But second, let me fucking spell some of this shit out, man. So maybe to save you a little of the ass pain, literal and figurative, that I had to fucking sit through and still got to sit through like another meeting of, but that's fucking in the rear view. So, here's the deal, man, is like you get older and apparently like a lot of things in your body, the saying about like how they say because you're an organic organism, like your cells reproduce and they replace each other. So after a time, you're like a lot of you will become a copy of a copy of a copy, right? So the cells in your body are like copied after ones that they replace as they get weaker or die or get fucked up. So you become a copy of a copy of a copy. But what happens though when you copy something so much, especially as you get older and older, like the blueprints for that copy and the ability to make a proper copy, it kind of goes to shit. So you end up with shittier and shittier copies, of the cells that are being replaced. So with your prostate, this happens a little quicker than it does everywhere else. So the ability to make a quality copy gets a little bit shittier as you go along. And what happens, at least according to the Harvard Medical Journal, is that these little mutations eventually become something that is, in the strictest technical sense, qualified as cancer. So, like I shit you not, dude, Harvard Medical Journal that is like, yeah, dude, we call it cancer. We should probably stop calling it cancer. And there's an article like legit saying this. I swear to Christ. They're like, yeah, it's technically called cancer, but it would probably help a lot of people if we stop calling it cancer because it freaks people the fuck out and it leads doctors to overdiagnosing and patients into freaking the fuck out and wanting parts of their bodies cut out when they don't need to fucking happen. And you probably don't need me to tell you that the less scrupulous among the medical community, like tell me where this is going, right? The less scrupulous are going to be more inclined to say, yeah, dude, let's get you in here for some more tests. Let's do a little probing. Let's do a little slicing. Hey, man, how about a couple procedures? And now, you're just making sure this guy's fucking country club fee is up to date. So kind of the situation here is that I read an article that was in the New York Post, and I can't remember what year it was, but it was an article written by this dude who interviewed the guy whose father discovered this PSA whatever value or this biomarker or whatever. So a guy that discovered this shit, his kid gave an interview and was talking about the things that his dad had told him. And I guess this guy was a doctor as well, is a doctor as well, whatever. And he's talking about, like, look, there's a lot of things that an elevated level of that could be. To say that this is a specific connection or a specific indicator that, like, yeah, you need to start getting looked at for cancer, this is a fucking disingenuous argument. And here's why. Like, the way this guy spelled it out was that if you got 2 auditoriums and in each auditorium there's, say, 1,000 dudes. Now, in each of these auditoriums, there's going to be, I think it was like a little over 100, like maybe 180 or something, men in each of these auditoriums is going to die with prostate cancer. Now, understand here, this is the difference between die with and die from. All right, so there's a very small percentage, like any cancer, right? Because I've known dudes that got like cancer in their jaw from dipping too much, or you hear all kinds of crazy shit. Like, you get cancer any fucking where. Get it in your eye, get it in your fucking skin. Who the fuck knows, right? So you can get cancer that'll fucking smoke your ass any place, all right? But along with that is going to be a lot of other indicators that, like, yeah, something's not fucking right. Like, I feel like shit. My labs are all fucked up. I can't go like this anymore. I can't fucking think straight. Dude, I knew one guy. Dude, while I was still in, there was a guy that was on the jump team, and he was a real cool motherfucker. Like, quick rabbit hole here. A real cool motherfucker. Like, really one of these dudes that you meet and you're like, fuck, man, I wish I could be that guy. Like, one of these real handsome Dan motherfuckers, just a nice guy, good dude. Like, one of these guys that shit just always kind of breaks his way. Like, nothing's going to ever go wrong for this guy. And then he started having, like, headaches. And he's like, yeah, I got fucking headaches, man. I got to, I'm going to the doctor, see what's what. So finally he goes to the hospital. He gets looked at. They run a bunch of tests, MRIs and this shit. And, like, the way this dude tells the story is, like, they run some tests on him. He's leaving, heading back to his car. They call him, and he's in the fucking parking lot. And they're like, hey, did you leave yet? And he's like, no. They're like, come back inside. Fuck, dude. This guy had a fucking tumor. Like, I don't know how fucking big. This guy had, like, brain cancer like a motherfucker. And this guy was gone, dude. I saw him one time after that, and he looked like he got pulled backwards through a fucking knothole, dude. He did not look good. I was like, shit, that fucking sucks. But so the point is, I guess, that, if you've got something like this where it's like, yeah, it's not like the fucking movies where you go and you fucking sit and you feel fine, man. I was just getting a little checkup. And then they come back and they're like, hey, man, do you have any plans that you want to knock out before you die? Because you're on the clock right now. Like, oh, fuck, like, it doesn't fucking work that way. So far as I've seen and understood, it doesn't fucking work like that. If you're on the clock like that, you've had a bunch of other indicators that you were probably pretty fucked up, that you were on the fucking clock. So you can get this kind of cancer, fucking anywhere, including your prostate. It is a possibility. It does happen. But what is termed the normal prostate bunny ears cancer? Like, this is shit that just naturally happens to dudes. So when you start hitting like 60, 70, 80, like, you're gonna have something that's, called bunny ears prostate cancer. The difference between this and this other stuff, that actually kills people, is that this shit grows super, super slow. It moves super, super slow. It spreads super, super slow. So I looked through it, and even like stage 3, stage 4, holy shit, I'm in bad fucking shape. I should have paid more attention. Prostate cancer is like, yeah, you can still fix that, dude. You can still deal with that. And even if it's that fucking bad and it's fucking up other parts of your life, right? Like, you can't catch wood, you can't piss right. You can still treat it, and it's probably not going to kill you. It's going to be a stretch if this fucking kills you. Like, you ignored a lot of shit on the way here. So, probably this is not something to be overly fucking excited about. But back to this analogy between these two auditoriums. So in each auditorium, there's going to be, whatever it was, like 180 or so dudes that are going to die with prostate cancer, right? In each of these auditoriums, a very small percentage, a small, minuscule handful or whatever, could be the guys that die, like, holy shit, this came out of nowhere, kablam, you got fucked up real bad, you're done, you're out, like bad luck of the draw. But in each auditorium now, the guy says, like, one auditorium, none of these guys got tested. This is just how it shook out. Nobody got, like, exams or any of these, like, PSA tests or nothing. This other auditorium, everybody got tested, but these guys that this shit happened to, like, the guys that were going to die of it, you were always going to die of that. Like, you got this fast-moving, like, murderous type cancer type shit that, the kind that does come on, like this guy with the brain cancer thing. Like, hey, did you leave the parking lot yet? The other guys in this auditorium, like, yeah, you have this, but whatever, it's not going to kill you before something else does, not before smoking or women drivers, so don't sweat the load. But the way this guy described it was that you've got all these other dudes, like, you had all these other colored circles in there. Here's all the guys in this auditorium that got tested and had false positives and sweated the load and got poked and prodded and fucked with, and they never had a single fucking thing wrong with them. I saw that and I was like, oh, that makes fucking sense. Because when you read this shit, like, straight off the top, it's like, yeah, dude, this is more prevalent in the U.S. than anywhere else in the world. And, like, the immediate thing you look at is, like, they'll all tell you, like, oh, yeah, it's because, lifestyle and the food that we eat in the U.S. and people don't move around that much. But this kind of leads to, and this is stepping away from just this specific discussion, that dudes, like, people in general, especially in countries targeted by our tiny-hatted friends, something you have to understand about statistics and how they're collected and how they're interpreted is, like, what does this fucking mean? All right? Because if, you looked at a country, like, I don't fucking know, man, fucking Vietnam, whatever. If all of a sudden, there was, like, some fucking thing of, like, yeah, we started importing Twinkies from America, some of these American snack foods, and the next thing you know, all these men, as soon as they hit 55 or 60, like, they can't piss, their dick doesn't work, all of a sudden they can't pee, and the next thing you know, they're in pain for a few months and they just drop dead. And we cut them open and find out, holy shit, there's all these dudes dying of prostate cancer. This is fucking crazy. Somebody would have to do something, all right? But instead, like, somebody would figure that out because, yeah, it could be a weird third world backwards country, but it's still, like, you got access to the internet. You got a fucking telephone, right? And there's money to be made, right? If there's something like that and you can go over there and go, yeah, there's something going on. Nobody knows what it is. Dude, I can make $1 off this. Somebody would fucking do that. But when you say this is something that happens a lot in the U.S. compared to other places, when you're hearing that, the reason for that is because this is where you're fucking looking, right? So this is exactly like the illegals crossing the border situation, where they could say, like, yeah, dude, we've had, like, encounters with illegals, or arrests of illegals are way, way down. Or, arrests among the blacks for violent crime, it's way, way down. Why the fuck do you think that is? Is it because those things aren't happening, or because those things aren't being looked at? So it's like the exact opposite effect. So if you're not looking at the border, if you're not rolling anybody up on the border because you're being told, like, dude, as soon as you roll them up, I'm turning them loose. Just go get a fucking donut and relax. What do you think's going to fucking happen? Oh, wow, look at that. Nobody's being arrested. I guess there's no more illegal immigration. That's amazing. It's the same thing with this. So if they say, like, oh, yeah, dude, this happens in the U.S. way, way more than it happens anywhere else. Because this is the only place that you're looking for it. This is the only place that you're hounding men to death. They're like, hey, get in here and let this chick dial a phone through your ass, and then we're going to figure out what else we can do to you, how else we could soak up some of these sweet, sweet insurance dollars. So long and short then, I leave this fucking appointment, right? And I'm like, fuck, dude, that's fucking weird. And I look up all these other stories of, like, yeah, dude, this is actually a little bit of a racket. Like, make sure there's something actually wrong with you before you let these kooks start fucking taking samples and poking and prodding and doing all manner of shit and soaking up hours of your day. If there's not a problem, then don't act like there's a problem, okay? And I'm like, okay, yeah, that's a hot tip. And then I thought, you know what, dude, just for my own, peace of mind or whatever, I'm going to go get my own labs done. Like one of these little 24-hour, like, yeah, we'll do whatever the fuck labs you want type places. Because this other one I'm waiting on is still like, that's not even back yet. It's like, yeah, we'll get to it when we get to it. No big deal. Obviously, it's not a rush to them. So I go to one of these places, and now the first time I did this thing for the T-Train, it was like 9.3, right? So I go get one of these like 24-hour, like, we'll do whatever the fuck lab test you want, comes back 5.3. So I'm like, what the fuck, dude? So if you remember, right, I said that like the normal value, the normal limits for this test is like between 0 and 4. And if you're a younger old dude, it's 0 to 2, and an older old dude, it's 2 to 4. Mine fluctuated the entire scale of that test. Like, moved an entire 4 points. And moved out of the range of like, holy shit, you got to get seen today, and moved into the range of like, it is a little bit high. So I got to look at this and be like, well, this tells me actually not fucking anything, dude. What am I supposed to make of this shit? But now I got to go back and see this fucking phone dialing woman, and I have no doubt that it's going to be like, yeah, dude, I still, I want to send you and get you fucking prodded and get some shit cut out of you and see what we could see. And I'm going to have to be, nah, man, I ain't fucking, until there's a problem, I'm not fucking doing any of that shit. Until there's an actual problem that I could be like, yeah, my dick doesn't work, I can't piss, or I'm fucking stuttering and drooling or some shit. Like, I'm not doing any of that shit. And I'll tell you something, man, like, as much as we talk about, like, yeah, dude, everything is a racket. These motherfuckers have their hands in everything. Like, the biggest problem is just straight dishonesty. Motherfuckers don't care what happens to you as long as they're getting paid. It does feel a little different when you're like, you got to put your money where your mouth is, that like, all right, smart guy, like, what if this? I'll tell you this, I don't feel any fucking different, man. That like, no, I still think you motherfuckers are full of shit. And the idea that you're trying to shove me into this fucking pipeline and get a few of them sweet insurance dollars, it don't change my fucking opinion. In fact, everything I've seen so far reinforces that. And part of the reason I think it was easier for me to like you just arrive at that conclusion is one, because of the COVID thing, that like, you motherfuckers are obviously dishonest, dude. You'll say whatever you're told to fucking say. But two, like way back when, dude, this had to be like more than 10 years ago. I mean, this was probably closer to 15 years ago, the first time I had heard this. But I got like a checkup thing, and they're like, yeah, dude, you got high cholesterol. I'm like, well, dude, I eat like a caveman, and I don't give a shit about, whatever the fuck. I'm not living like no vegan life in here, all right? I'm not vegan. I'm not homosexual. So I don't do that shit, right? But they're like, yeah, you got really high cholesterol. We're going to put you on some meds for that. And the first time I was like, all right, dude, before I had any idea how this shit worked. And I'm like, yeah, dude, I'll try your fucking meds if it's cool, whatever. I took these statin fucking things that are supposed to whatever lower your cholesterol. I felt like I was going to fucking die, man. I felt like shit. I felt slow and stupid and depressed and like, dude, this sucks. So I went off that shit. And then like 10 years ago, I went back in and get looked at again. And they're like, yeah, dude, your cholesterol is pretty high. I want to put you on something. I'm like, yeah, I ain't doing that, man. Oh, and in the meantime, I had read, like, how you don't really hear about cholesterol no more? Because the first time you ever heard about it, it was fucking bullshit anyway. There's all these studies that were like, yeah, dude, this doesn't fucking do anything to you. Like, having high cholesterol can be associated with a heart attack, but you could also have high cholesterol and no heart attack. Like, this doesn't mean shit. Basically, this on its own doesn't tell you anything. So I'm like, I tell the guy, I'm like, yeah, look, dude, I'm not taking whatever the fuck you give me, dude. I'm not doing this shit. And he's like, well, I mean, hey, I'm just a medical professional. I'm like, dude, it's not you I don't trust. It's people telling you what to tell me that I don't trust. So I'm not doing this, sorry. And this guy was hurting his ass, like personally offended that I was like, dude, I'm not just taking whatever the fuck you hand me. It's not happening. And I'll tell you what, dude, like, I'm not fucking ancient. I say some wacky shit. I'm not fucking super old, right? But I'm pretty fucking old, dude. And I am old enough to have like dudes in their 20s and 30s be like, how the fuck are you in good shape like this? Like, this isn't fucking reasonable. And, I don't do any of that prescription shit. I sure as fuck ain't lucky because I used to drink like somebody was paying me to do it. So all I could say is like, yeah, these motherfuckers don't actually have your best interest in mind. I ain't giving you medical advice, right? This is just my experience. So you know what? I actually got to go in here and get beat up. I'll come back and continue this in a minute. Here, hang on. So anyway, yeah, generally enough about that, I guess, man. I mean, we shall see, but I'll tell you something. I don't imagine I'm going to be going nowhere anytime soon. They're not getting rid of me that fucking easy. But moving on to other items, other newses. Dude, I'm laughing my ass off of late with this latest, greatest attempt, man. The QATARI Hebrew Haters Club. And if you haven't seen this, dude, you gotta see it, dude. But the Ian Carroll was just on Joe Rogan, and this guy, I mean, he's not. I want to say that, like, coming, you know, if you've heard him talk, he'll tell you, like, he comes from a liberal family, whatever, like liberal college professor types. And this, the guy is about as apologetic and even-keeled version of our guy as you could ever expect to see. Like, the dude is pretty level-headed, very, well thought out, and to his credit, does take his time about making the declarative statements that could otherwise get a guy in trouble, right? Like, he's very particular about coming out and saying, I'm not saying everybody in Israel, I'm not saying all of them, that would be crazy, and this kind of shit, like all of these disclaimers. And even, says it on behalf of Joe Rogan, of like, and Joe's not saying it either. Nobody's saying. But I mean, I guess just like, considering statistical models, you got to consider, like, well, wait, what else goes hand in hand with this? Like, what is attached to this information? And just, to me, the simple fact that you got to come out and say, you got to come out with these disclaimers. You have to state up front that I'm not saying everybody. I'm not trying to lump everyone in. I'm not making accusations, like all this shit. Just the fact that you have to do that tells you everything you should need to know. And I guess the way that guy's thing took off, dude, I mean, I had seen the guy a couple of times, and for a while he looked like just about any other TikTok guy you might see, like, hey, look at this shit. I found this shit. But it came across like just a guy that had done a piece of research and then maybe a little extra research and then double checked his information, like maybe a lot of us would do if we had that kind of time to horse around like that. But this guy, he did a lot of this shit and put out a lot of really good videos. And then I think it was some of this stuff that he had put out with, I guess specific to the pharma thing and the Fauci thing and the Pfizer thing and all of this kind of shit was, I think, when he started really blowing up. But now is when he starts looking at like BlackRock and like who actually owns this, and this. This is when this guy really started taking off. So he did one on the Epstein thing. And man, it is true what they say about you can tell a lot about a guy by the kind of enemies he attracts. And this guy had people coming out of the fucking woodwork like, this guy's he's an anti-Semitic nutcase. And there was one guy that had started on him, and they pulled the reins on that guy real quick. And I can't remember what the guy's name, what his little Twitter name was. It was like American Dad or some shit, like Country Dad or some shit. And he's like a fat guy with a beard and like I want to say a Trump hat, maybe just an American flag looking hat or some shit. But then you look closer and you're like, why is this guy's beard so carefully manicured? And why are his eyebrows like sculpted? And is that guy wearing fucking eye makeup? And this guy was in there swinging and like, Israel's our greatest ally, man. And this guy, he here talking, who the hell's he? Who the hell's he? He ain't no kind of American I want to associate with. These are my allies, bro. Christian values, bro. Shoulder to shoulder. But then somebody goes down a rabbit hole on this guy and they're like, well, this guy's actually Jewish. So, and I haven't seen shit from that guy since. Like, that guy basically fell off the radar. Some other guy they sent out, who was this, like, I can't remember the name of the fucking account. It was like Real News Right Now or some kind of shit. But he's this weird, I want to say Canadian. And he does these little clips of like, hey, wouldn't it be weird if like, but he has that aggravating Canadian accent. Where he's like, wouldn't it be weird if like some information came out about and you're like, what? God damn it, man. Why do you talk this way? But that guy came out as well and like, oh, Ian Carroll, yeah, he doesn't know anything about it, bro. Like, dude, you don't know so much, bro. I don't know what's this crazy stuff, bro. And people came down on him like a house of fucking bricks. So he dropped that shit in about a second. Like, okay, maybe, maybe not. So they sent, Department of They, I don't know. I don't want to say that like somebody gets, a phone call in the middle of the night and like, hey, here's what you're going to be talking about tomorrow. Fucking do it. I don't want to be conspiratorial to that degree. However, looking at some of the shit that has come out vis-a-vis Tim Pool and some of these people that are like, the memos are getting leaked that like, yeah, man, you're going to talk about this shit favorably. You're never going to bring up that shit over there. I mean, it is what it fucking is, man. If it's happening, it's fucking happening. Don't look at me like I'm the one fucking doing it. So those guys, the gay Jewish dude with the fake beard, he changed his tune real fucking quick and just disappeared, I guess. And then Canadian, wouldn't it be weird fucking guy news right now, that guy, I mean, he dropped that shit in about a second and hasn't said nothing about it since. But the latest and greatest that they've been throwing at, Candace Owens, I guess, and I don't know, I mean, Candace Owens, I thought she came from some modeling agency and was just hired as like kind of a lobster trap to, you can go and spin around and pretend you're awake or awoke or whatever the fuck it is you are, and you're like the conservative American or whatever, and you got this black chick out in charge, so how can you be wrong? But I don't know, man, maybe she found a brain of her own or something, and she was getting in the ass on Israel for one, for sure, and then two, on Emmanuel Macron's bunny ears wife, who, I don't know, man, a rumor that doesn't die, right? Is it really a rumor? Because story is that this was somebody that was a teacher of this Emmanuel Macron, and about the time Brigitte, I guess is its name, appeared, this other school teacher character disappeared, and nobody can find anything on school teacher since, and nobody can find anything on Brigitte Macron from before. So how exactly? What the fuck's going on? I don't really know. I'm glad that I'm not, living in France, living in New Nigeria or whatever. I wouldn't want any part of that, being run by a dude married to his, I don't know what, PE teacher. I wonder if they have, like, badass PE teachers in France. Like, can you imagine that shit? Because, I mean, and hey, if you're French, I don't know. I don't fucking know from France. Maybe there's bad motherfuckers there. I don't get the impression that there are. It's not what I'm sensing here, man. Like, there's not some badass PE teacher in La France. It's like, hey, listen, you will hurry up. You will climb the rope. I don't think it's happening, man. But, yeah, so whatever it was that Brigitte was teaching, he is not teaching it anymore, and he disappears. He gets a wig, and here he is, married to the, what is he called? President, I guess? Le Président Macron. In any case, yeah, Candace Owens got into that shit, has thrown more than a few rocks at Israel. So the likes of her and the likes of this Ian Carroll, the latest and greatest in this, dude, I enjoy this to no end. Latest and greatest is that, you know what, dude, it's kind of a coincidence. It's a weird coincidence that these people, like, what, out of nowhere, right? Just out of nowhere, and they just took off, like, popular. That's crazy, right? That's not a coincidence, bro. You know why that happened? Because of Qatar, bro. Qatari money, bro. Yeah, it's some crazy-ass Qataris. And they know, like, people in Qatar, however the fuck you say it, gutter. I heard everything from gutter to Qatar to Qatar to I don't give a shit. How about middle of fucking nowhere, some fucking overpaid oil sheik, and he's got money like I don't got. But what I do find interesting is the idea that, just like with the Russian thing, that somebody from some other place a long, long fucking ways away is better at identifying with the concerns of everyday Americans than these people who are right here bleeding us dry. Because if you're Ian Carroll and, you say, well, hey, what do Americans really give a shit about? If you're the tiny hat bleeding the place dry, it seems only reasonable to be like, well, yeah, man, they care about this, this, and this. I see this every day. I'm over here neck deep in this shit. I read what they say in the comment sections. I hear what they're saying at the grocery store. I know what their concerns are, man. I watch how they vote. I know what goes on. But if that guy is taking a back seat to some fucking sheikh in Oman, or to Vladimir Putin wearing Yushanka, sitting in the Kremlin and trying to decide, what should I tell these Americans to believe? If that guy who's neck deep in this culture is taking a back seat to either of these people, in this case, the sheikh in Qatar. How fucking stupid are you then? You know, how fucked up are you that somebody on the other side of the world can look at the situation here and go, you know what, I actually have a better take on this. I know better than you do what's going on. And that's, I mean, I guess you could call that a little bit of a more nuanced take, but I mean, realistically, dude, it's like, you know, nobody is losing sleep over the number of Qatari U.S. dual citizens in Congress, right? That's not anyone's concern. Nobody's losing sleep over that shit. Nobody is talking about all of the Qataris that own, media companies. You know, and actually, before we jump away from the government thing, you know, it's not possible for a Qatari U.S. dual citizen to hold elected office in the U.S. There's only one brand of dual citizen that can hold elected office in the U.S., and that is U.S. Israeli dual citizen. So, like, this idea that, oh yeah, it's these Qataris, man, they're right there neck and neck for control of everything that goes on in the States. Dude, there's no such animal. I mean, yeah, you got a shit ton of money. Israel also has a shit ton of money. Israel, I mean, shit, they have their own money. They have money that they squeeze out of the Europeans, definitely out of the Germans. They have the money that they squeeze out of us. They have the money that gets filtered back through Hollywood, through all of these fucking causes. They have the money that gets sent back there through all of these immigrant aid organizations, because don't try to tell me that every nickel and dime is going to help poor fucking Apu get settled in buttfuck Missouri or some kind of thing. That's not fucking happening. No, like, these people have at least as much and probably more disposable funds that they're using to push their ends. But instead, you're going to point the finger at Qatar, who the fuck gives a shit about Qatar? When was the last time you ever heard anybody say anything pro-Qatar? Because, I mean, I feel like you would at least hear that, right? Like, yeah, you could say, oh, anti-Israel, but is there no pro-Qatar message? Is there no pro-Islam message? I mean, if I was Qatari and I had that kind of money to throw around, okay, yeah, maybe if you're going to run with it, that narrative of like, oh, bro, they just hate the Jews, bro, and that's what this is, and you're just trying to hold them down. Okay, but at the other side of that, would you not also push a pro-Qatar or at least pro-Islamic message? And you definitely don't see that, because if you did, I'm inclined to think that there would be a little bit of policing up in the neighborhoods to be like, hey, shitheads, until this blows over, nobody stab nobody. This rape gang thing, stop doing that shit. It's pissing off the locals. Now's the time we could really, get these Israelis by the nuts. Here's a huge chance to move ahead. So we're going to behave. We're going to be their preferred immigrant. And they're going to go, you know what? Those Mohammedans were all right. They were the good guys all along. Let's kick all these Hebrews out of here. That's what we want, right? But they're not doing that. None of that is happening because none of this is factual. What I do think is funny, though, is the idea that, because, I mean, that does feel like about a last gasp. Like, this is desperation mode. Gay American guy with a fake beard didn't fit. All these other attempts, it didn't fucking fit. This shit they're floating now, this shit they floated most recently with like the Pam Bondi thing and the Epstein report. Like, dude, it's what's comic to me is everybody saw through this fucking immediately. And that's what I think is so fucking cool about having all of this ability to pass info so fucking fast. Was like, if you didn't have internet and they're like, look, here's a blonde woman with a little cross necklace and she says she's America first and she's going to represent your values, you'd give her a good couple of years, before you were ever like, you know what, I don't know, if this chick really, and if it didn't come out in a paper, in the daily newspaper that you're not going to fucking read anyway, if it never came out that like, well, yeah, this chick was actually the attorney general in Florida when Epstein got his sweet fucking deal. We're just going to turn a blind eye to you raping the locals, man. Not that big of a deal. We got bigger fish to fry. Like, there's bigger fish to fry than your daughter getting raped. And this is the person that was in charge when that shit was going on. You'd never know that. You'd give her a couple of years. And then once that couple of years was up, you'd be like, fuck it. Maybe next time, right? Maybe next time. Like that should be the fucking Republican motto, dude. Maybe next time. I don't know what that is in Latin. But between that guy, between fucking RFK Jr., like, imagine the fucking total absence of spine on this fucking guy. Like, this one singular little ethnocentric criminal organization smoked a couple of real prominent dudes in your family who are actually, by all accounts, trying to do the right thing in a lot of areas. And I mean, didn't just fucking smoke them. Didn't just like, yeah, we're going to, I don't know, inject you with fucking plutonium. You can die quietly at home or some kind of shit. Like, no, very public, very splashy, very fuck you, don't fuck with us type of assassination type shit. They did your family that way. And now what do? Here's RFK Jr. Yeah, dude, we're going to get rid of food dyes. We're going to have healthy breakfast cereal. All right, cool. What else? We're going to get rid of anti-Semitism because that's a mental health disorder. Okay. Yeah, it has not even been a month. And just like I will tell like the libtards, get fucked, man. Like this business about where's my cheap eggs, asshole. Like, dude, it has only been a month. The same way, I'm going to say it's only been a month. And already we see through your bullshit. So, I mean, it's picking up pace. It's picking up steam fucking quick, man. And I don't know how you're going to keep the wheels on this fucking thing. And here's what I think is funny. The funniest fucking thing is that just like one of our uncle's closest advisors suggested, once they start requiring laws, making it illegal to hate them, you know that their days are numbered. And that's where we're at, man. You don't even have a chance to switch it out at this point. You can't play the red game, blue game, fucking Team Democrat, Team Republican. Oh, fuck these guys. These guys didn't do shit. I'll vote for those other guys. No, dude, this dance just started, man. It's a month old, a month and change at this point, and now you're already like, oh yeah, dude, we're pissing people off already. What are we gonna fucking do now? It's on Joe fucking Rogan. I mean, dude, once it goes mainstream like that, when Joe Rogan is talking about it, one, not just when people are calling it out and saying, hey, this right here is a problem, but when you have to wheel out the big guns, the big fucking figures, the big fucking names, and you can't just dismiss it as like, yeah, these guys are just fucking nuts. That's all it is. Who is it? It's just fucking guy. Look at him. He's wearing a fucking t-shirt. What the fuck does he know about anything? You can just blow something like that off. But when you can't blow it off no more, because too many of the facts are just floating around and you got to wheel out the big guns, and then people even look at the big guns and they're like, yeah, fuck you, dude. You're fucking bought and paid for. You go fuck yourself. You know you're in trouble, dude. You know you're in fucking trouble. So this Zelensky thing looks like it's honestly just about to wrap up. I mean, this fish is fucking flopping, and that thing has got not long to go, I don't think. So I think that's going to wrap up soon. And I think they're doing their best to keep people talking about it. But I really do think like the very simple, very cut and dry answer is more Ukrainian men are dying because you are paying this asshole to send them to war. Simple fucking answer. And, this ain't to have my fucking Russian bear hat on, dude. I don't have to have that on to look at this and say like, hey, even if this is 100% fucking Putin's fault and he's a bad fucking guy and he's crazy and he's whatever the fuck he is, dude, fine. Let's concede that. Let's just say all that shit is true. He's a fucking bad fella. We have to stop him at some point. It's too much. It's too crazy. Okay, but this ain't going to do the trick. You can't get there from here. And I had talked to somebody about this the other day that like, hey, income tax, how do you feel about that? The IRS isn't mandated in the Constitution. Coming to tell you that you owe me money because you owe land, that's not outlined in the Constitution anywhere. All of this shit, to come to you and say like, yeah, I'm going to take your money. I'm going to send it to my friends overseas so that I can get a hookup on the business side after I leave office. None of that shit is mandated. All that shit is, by any definition of the term, that shit is corrupt. It's wrong. It's theft. It's immoral. It's unethical. It's all that shit. What are you going to fucking do about it? You ain't going to do shit. You're going to fucking show up and you're going to pay your taxes. That's what you're going to fucking do. Because if you don't, what happens? You get thrown in a little fucking cage. And a little fancy Dan in a suit shows up and starts taking things from you. And you don't want that shit, right? Because at the end of the day, your rights only extend so far as you can protect them. You only have the rights that you can defend by force. Well, I have the right to this and I have the right to that. Motherfucker, you don't have shit. All right? You have a lot of rights because there are still people willing to pick up a weapon and say, no, man, you're not fucking with this guy in this capacity. That's where your rights end, dude. So the minute that they replace all the police forces with Nigerians and or Mexicans and or Guatemalans and or Somalians, whatever the fuck, those people will enforce whatever the fuck the Tiny Hat Club tells them to enforce. And you know what God-given rights you'll have then? The same ones you'll have now. As many as you can protect by force. So this idea of like, we got to stop Putin because it's right and somebody's got to die because it, you know, the people saying that shit, it seems like it's always the people with absolutely no chance of dying that are going to be the ones saying, oh, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You know, you go to war, you get killed. That's how you make an omelet, friend. Yeah, except you're never the one that's going to be, you know, getting smoked over this shit. So for my money, and I kind of rabbit hole there a little bit, but I mean, for my money, this fucking Ukraine thing wraps up here in pretty short order. There's not many angles left to take. I think my position that I put out last time that, yeah, like Trump pretty much slammed the door on that, especially by allowing everybody in the room to take a shot at that little fruit, that little fucking cokehead. You know, letting everybody in the room take a fucking shot at a head of state, that pretty much says everything that can be said in terms of like, yeah, dude, this is not opening back up. We're not going to go to this thing of like, yeah, okay, we're pals again, because we're not fucking pals. Latest I heard on that is Zelensky's talking about like, okay, I'm ready to do the mineral thing. Let's do the mineral deal. When a guy comes like that, it's just a principle of negotiation that like, yeah, dude, now I'm going to let you stew a little bit. I'm going to make you offer me more than I was even asking for before. And that's really just going to secure his position as like, you're my bitch, dude, just so you don't fucking forget. So I think that's going to happen. And that, it appears, will shift pretty much all of the focus squarely back to the Middle East. And I know there's a thing with China where they had some deal that like, oh, there's some guy in the army, some Chinese guy that got caught trying to sell, you know, whatever, bunny ears, state secrets to China. What did anybody fucking expect? You know what I think is a trip about this kind of shit is that this shit doesn't surprise anyone anymore. You know, it's like being called racist. You know, like, oh, you got a guy named Jin Wu Liang that you caught trying to sell something at the Chinese embassy or to somebody who claimed to be an agent of, you know, Chinese intelligence or some shit. How the fuck is this a surprise, dude? This isn't surprising to anybody. Get fucked. So people just kind of blow right by that, and I think that the efforts to focus on China might peter out a little bit, which again leaves us squarely looking at Middle East. And I've got some thoughts on this. I saw a take that by removing, well, no, I know what it was. It was a leaked email from fucking Hillary Clinton talking about if they could displace Assad who must go, who has unfortunately went, and I kind of like that guy. He seemed like he was probably pretty cool. But the idea that if they could get rid of that guy, that it would facilitate confrontation between the two sects of Islam, between the Sunnis and the Shias, and that would suck Iran to it, thereby weakening Iran and making Israel happy. So, I mean, you know, that's honestly, that's just what the email said, dude, without the sugarcoating, without the, you know, our greatest ally, or somehow this has something to do with us, which has fuck all to do with us. It'll just make Israel happy. So as you can see, that has come to pass, and the Islamic terrorists, you know, this Islamic strongman, whatever the fuck, I can't remember what the fuck these people are called, HT or HTI, some shit. They've taken over in Syria, and they're not attacking Israelis or anybody really. They're only executing Muslims they don't like and Christians. And you don't got to look too fucking far to find lots of videos of just mass executions of, I mean, I don't know if you've seen like that one that was in, I want to say it was like around the Charlie Hebdo thing, where it was supposed to be like some kind of terrorist that was running out and they shot somebody and they ran and jumped back in the car. And everybody that looked at it, this was in France again, but this was like, you look at it and you're like, dude, I could see the spot on the ground where it's marked for the car to stop. And I'm looking at the guy's head as he shoots him twice, this guy that's supposed to be a terrorist guy, and nothing is happening, you know. And I understand, like, you know, like in the movies, a guy doesn't explode when you shoot him, But you shoot a guy twice in the head with a rifle, you're going to see something. All right, you're going to see something. This is fucking stupid. All right, so not like that. Like, you look at these fucking videos, and again, it's not like the Syria fake gassing videos where everybody just lays still and then later, everybody's high-fiving and taking selfies and shit. Like, you're seeing motherfuckers get fucking gunned down. Like, you're seeing blood leaking out of people, and they're doing what people do when bad things happen. So this shit's going on, man, and the U.S., of course, continues to just send money to Israel. Well, dude, I guess most recently then Israel said, yeah, we're going to have just like total blockade on Gaza again. We're going to do the starvation thing now. We're doing that again, and we're not hearing anything else about that. So it very much looks like the U.S. is wholly supporting this effort to just, we're going to help with the realization of greater Israel. And possibly that'll suck Iran into this thing. If I'm Iran, I'm not completely sure. I mean, we did see that they have the capability to reach out and strike inside Tel Aviv. So I don't really know what the fucking holdup is. Maybe there is some kind of a backdoor understanding of like, all right, dude, we're going to let you do this, this, and this, but don't fuck around any further or fucking else. Because I know that these Iranians, these are Persians, and they don't see any of these Arabs as like, yeah, whatever happens to them, man, that's not completely my problem. Whatever happens, happens. And I guess strategically, it's probably the smarter move to let the U.S. and let Israel continue to deplete its resources fighting, both to support Ukraine and to support greater Israel expansion. And then if it does come down to Iran, then maybe it'll be a more level playing field. And I guess for them, hopefully, the QATARI-backed sponsorship of advertisement in the U.S. calling for white men to once again join the military, maybe that'll peter out by then. So I guess we'll just have to see. In any case, so I think that's about as much as I've had. And, dude, hey, let me just reiterate, man, like, nothing's wrong with me. My health is fucking good to go. I'm going to be around putting out low-grade content for the next foreseeable future. And once shit goes completely sideways, I do plan on, if nothing else, at least being in a walker and getting out there to fuck some shit up. So don't sweat the load on that, and please don't bother putting anything in the chat of like, bro, I hope you don't die, man. I ain't fucking dying. I ain't anything of the sort. Just something that happened to me that I thought, some of you motherfuckers might one, get a laugh out of, or two, get some useful information out of. So there you go. Apart from that, man, some of the dudes in the chat were asking if I would put some of these old school pickup artist manuals, and I think I know where I have them. I gotta find this fucking hard drive that I have, but if I can find it, dude, I'll put it up there. Well, probably later today. I'll get this thing dug out and I'll get it put up for you guys. So other than that, man, that's all I have. I will let you go, and I'll try to get some thoughts out on a more regular basis, not be such a lazy turd. But until next time, man, keep your eyes on the horizon, keep your neck out of the noose. I have been Coffee, and these are my takes.